It's a quote from the show. We're talking about Stranger Things. Well, actually, that's not really the intro. We're gonna start with a flashback to when we did do the show and say, "Welcome to Background Noise." This is your host, Joseph.
I'm Jack.
And I'm Joe.
So yeah, it has been a second. We decided to get in character, as it were, and decide to have a long time between episodes or seasons or whatever you want to call it, in honor of Stranger Things season 4 being 2 years between the other season. Right? Right? Was it 2 years?
Yeah, I think
At
so.
least.
At least.
Yeah. Due to the big coof and all that stuff. Yeah, but now they released it and we got around to watching it, and wow, that's a lot of stuff right there. It was so much that it kind of did take us this long to get around to talking about it, because there's just so much to talk about. But anyway, before we do get into the nitty gritty, Jack, do we have any announcements or messages or fan art? We're going to share fan art through the sound waves.
No, if in order to have fan art, we need to have fans. So we do not have any fan art this week.
Yep.
Well, if we don't have any announcements, why don't we get into well, Joe, I suppose this is your segment, but now it's your segment and your punishment.
Yeah.
Tell us about Stranger Things season 4, please.
Okay. So Stranger Things season 4 is a lot. It's a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to start with probably the easiest arc. I think the easiest one to understand is that Hopper is in fact alive and is in Russia, as we all predicted, as we all knew. Technically, he's specifically in Siberia because
they spoiled it
the US. That's where the USSR stuck all their prisoners. And Joyce Byers and Murray?
Yep.
Right? Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So many characters in this stupid show. Joyce and Murray get clues that Hopper is still alive, and they go and they get a guy named Yuri, I think. No, something else. What's his name?
You're right. It's
okay.
right.
It is Murray and Yuri.
Doing great.
Okay, Murray and Yuri, the comedic duo. They get Yuri, who's like an absolutely insane Russian man. Like literally, actually, he's gone crazy. Russian guy is going to fly them into Russia so they can save Hopper. He betrays them. Shenanigans happen. They end up all getting sent into the prison, basically, and they have to fight. They have to fight a Demogorgon and I think some Demodogs as well. Right, they have to go
stuff upside down, and like a cloud of mind flare particles.
Yes, a cloud of mind. Yeah, yep. And eventually they're able, like, we had to get a great scene of Hopper hacking a Demogorgon to pieces, fighting it like sword to monster, which is great. So he got to be heroic dad Hopper as usual.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's pretty much all of the actual major plot things that happen in there. There's a lot of character development but we'll talk about that. They leave between season 3 and 4. Joyce had moved to California to get out of Hawkins, Indiana, for obvious reasons. And she took Jonathan, Will, and she adopted 11 because Hopper wasn't there, obviously. With her, obviously, she took her 2 kids and she adopted 11. And so neither Will nor 11 is really getting like incorporated very well into California life. But when Joyce leaves, they get some nonsense happening because of problems going on in Hawkins. The government is like, oh, we need to kill 11, basically, because obviously she's the one causing the problems. And instead she gets picked up by what's the doctor's name?
Owens.
Well, who are the 2 doctors? Owens is the good one, and then there's the other one.
Isn't that Brenner?
Brenner? That's right. He's not dead.
Yeah. Brenner's not dead, by the way. They're working together, and they're going to teach 11 how to use her powers again. Also, I completely forgot to mention it that Mike had flown in from Hawkins to be with 11, and then they get separated.
Been dropped into the plot.
Yeah, literally airdropped into the plot. into this section of the plot. And then Will, Jonathan, and Mike are going on a road trip to first pick up 11 and then try to get 11 to Hawkins in time to be useful for the plot. And they fail at that quest, but they do put her into a pizza place so she can be in a refrigerator so she could do her weird mind meld thing and she can go and be helpful in the plot. That's the fairly straightforward stuff. In Hawkins, some stuff is happening.
We got a murder mystery.
Yeah, it starts off as a murder mystery, which is appropriate, right? It always starts off as someone is gone missing or is dead. Where this girl was having headaches and having seeing weird visions and stuff, and then she goes to this stoner guy's house, this guy named Eddie, to go buy some drugs, hoping that'll calm her down. And then she flies up into the air, squashes herself against the roof of his trailer, and then all of her limbs break and her eyes explode. Which, is what usually happens when you go to buy drugs. This is why you don't do drugs, kids.
This is
fly
the
up into the
effect
air.
of one weed cigarette.
Yeah. This is exactly what happens when you do one of the drugs.
Yep.
Now, Eddie is wanted for murder. The reason we care about Eddie, by the way, is because he's the leader of the D&D club that Mike and Dustin and Lucas are all a part of. That's the reason we care about Eddie.
Hellfire.
Yep. So he's wanted for murder. The boyfriend of the girl who died is basically leading a brute squad, right? It's just like
Chad Manleton or whatever his name is.
Yeah, he's just leading an assassination team of the most, I don't know. So that's going on in the background. He's the leader he's the head of the basketball team, and so he's got all the basketball dudes chasing this guy down. The boys that we care about, Will and Mike are over in doing things in California. So we've got Dustin and Lucas who are trying to figure out what's going on with the murders. They bring in Nancy as per usual. They bring in Steve as per usual. They bring in Robin, who is a fixture character. And also we have Max, who also is having weird headaches and seeing hallucinations. And we find out that the thing that killed the one girl is also about to kill Max. It's some problem that's in the Upside Down. They have to figure out about it. They go on a quest to figure out information and also save Eddie and also figure out other plot-related things that have been happening. And they find out eventually that the answer is they have been calling him Vecna because, again, D&D villains. But actually, he, just like 11 is the 11th member is the 11th person in Brenner's experiments. There's a number 1, and that first person is the person who is now Vecna, who got sent into the Upside Down by 11, 5 years ago or whatever, before the start of season 1, and has been mutating and amassing power and getting stronger and being generally terrifying. And he created the Mind Flayer. I don't think he created the Demogorgon and the Demodogs, but I think he mind controls them or something.
Tames them or something.
It's basically hinted at or implied that he is responsible for everything that's happened.
Yes, yeah. So he is revealed to be the actual big villain that has been doing all the things, and he tries to kill Max, and he kills several other people, and they're able to save Max just barely because 11 is able to psychic herself into Max's brain and is trying to fight Vecna. And also everyone else is, Steve and Robin and Nancy go actually into the Upside Down and are going to try to kill Vecna's body while he's trying to kill Max. And there's a big climatic battle where pretty much everyone is involved. Even somehow, the Hopper and company battle in Russia is happening at the same time. So them killing the Demogorgons is hurting Vecna because it's part of the hive mind, obviously. But then
Keep up, people.
Max sort of dies, but she doesn't actually die, but it's enough to trigger the ritual thing because every time someone dies, it's opening a hole into the Upside Down, and enough people have now died that literally a hell pit opens up in the middle of Hawkins. I'm not even an exaggeration. That's actually what happens. And now everyone is back in Indiana, and that's the end. I tried to cover everything. There's a lot more stuff. This is not all of the stuff that happens. A lot of people die. Also, Eddie gets a heroic death. The basketball player dude that we don't really like or care about just kind of dies when the hell pit opens up because his body.
Brenner, it looks like dies for real this time.
He's probably actually
I was
dead.
about to say he got hit with a 9mm bullet that blew his lung out. So yeah.
Yeah.
We have no idea what happened to Dr. Owens.
Yeah, he was conveniently going off
he's
screen.
He's the only decent government figure that we've ever had.
Yeah. He's probably. I'm hoping he comes back in season 5 because we never really see what happens to him.
But he's conveniently drug off screen. So if the actor wants to rejoin, he's still in. If he doesn't, then it's like, yeah, he was dead.
Exactly.
Schrodinger's character.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all the major.
Pretty much.
We'll have to go into detail on specifics. Like there's so many things going on here.
We need a flow chart. We need a flow chart for for whose characters are foils or parallels to one another across like these 5 different subplots, and it's just nuts.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
In a good way, and kind of in a okay, what's going on here?
Yeah. It's definitely something where you either need to just disassociate as you're watching it, or you need to get a thumbtack, get some thumbtacks and string out on your corkboard.
Right. Or just binge the show so hard until you're brain dead. But at least you have everything in your head.
And all your limbs break.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, until your eyes squirt out of your brain.
Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, this season was ridiculously long, but with that said, I definitely think they did a good job at giving all the characters decent amount of screen time. So,
well, this is what we were talking about last episode on Stranger Things, right? We were talking they've got a ballooning cast. How are they going to give everyone enough screen time where you can actually appreciate the cast? And the answer is, we'll just make multiple full-length movies and call that a TV show.
I mean, it worked.
Yeah.
They took our advice to heart. Good one, Duffer Brothers. We'll expect our checks in the mail.
That's right.
Because obviously our commentary right before this was released influenced how they made it.
It would have been a much different series otherwise.
Yes. Yeah, obviously.
Where else to start? Why don't we just start? All right, one last time from the beginning. Well, I guess just seeing kind of where everything left off in season 3, seeing it pick up a little bit after that was good. I'm glad it wasn't too long or too short, and I'm kind of honestly glad they didn't spend too long exploring too much of that in terms of like before crazy stuff happens, because I gotta be honest, the end of the last season kind of bummed me out, and I'm glad they kind of changed that a little bit in terms of, I don't know, it's still kind of, I suppose there's still this overarching feeling of just, I would say this is the most straight up horrifying season of the show, as in of going less towards creepy things and more of like straight up scary things. So I guess there's that overarching sense there. But yeah, it's I don't know. There's just a lot that happens.
Yeah. So I'll say it actually took me a little bit to get invested in this episode, in this season, I should say, because Elle in high school is not something that I ever cared to watch, and it wasn't done in an interesting new way. It was very standard. Here is the weird girl who's kind of weird and doesn't fit in anywhere, and she can't use her powers to fix things because it's a social situation. So people make fun of her and tease her and pick on her and everything. Like, there's a movie about this that is kind of is it Carrie? Is that the name of the movie? Where the girl gets psychic powers and everyone's like making fun of her, and then they like drop a party balloon full of blood on her head or some nonsense.
And then she slaughters them all. It's terrifying.
Like,
this is the inverse of that.
This is
None
the
of
inverse
the payoff with all of the suffering.
Yeah, so it was that. So it took me a little bit to get invested. But the thing that kept me going through it is the mystery in Hawkins of trying to figure out what's going on there. And I think that is where I think that's really where the core of the plot is, which is how they could get away with adding the most new characters there, because you have these characters we care about, we're invested in already, and we can add some new characters in, and that's the plot that you care about. And everything that's happening in other parts of the world, we only care about in so much as it's affecting characters that we already really like. Like, we only care about what's going on in Russia because Hopper is there. If anyone else is there, nobody cares. But Hopper is one of our favorite characters, so we want to know what's going on with him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely became much easier to get invested in the show as the episodes went on. Like, I definitely agree where it's 11 in high school and all of that stuff, Mike coming to visit, all of that stuff before Elle is taken by Owens to the lab is very much just, I don't really care. Get me back to Hawkins, get me back to Russia and all of that. So
it almost feels like what is it? This series is all about taking genre conventions and doing them up and doing them well. That almost just felt like a straight up, I don't know, episode of a CW show or something. It would just just the cliche teen drama episode, except there's roller skate violence at the very end. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think a CW TV show is actually an accurate description for some sections of this. Which is not a compliment, unfortunately.
Now, when we do get to new characters, there's one I want to talk about that I feel like I could be reading into it too much, but I kind of enjoyed it because it felt like CW-esque. It was, but either way.
Sure. Which one?
Oh well, yeah. You know what? Yeah, no.
We're talking about character arcs here, so let's do it.
Yeah, go for it.
Right, that's right. I'm sorry, my brain has been scrambled by my other new favorite character. Okay, so what is it? The basketball guy, Jason, he felt very much like a...
Is that his name?
I think?
His name?
I don't know. I think.
Go with it. Send it. I think.
It's okay. Chad Manleyton.
Yeah.
I feel like it benefits that he's kind of like just this stereotypical teen show. Like in a worse written show, he'd be the protagonist. Like, oh man, this guy killed my girl, and I'm gonna take justice because I'm cool and stuff. And it's just like, this plays that very straight, where it's like, someone who does this is probably a little unhinged. And I felt like that worked out as a good minor antagonist. And wow, even though he was pretty bad, it's kind of crazy. He kind of got just disintegrated at the very end.
It's actually a good. I didn't think about this until you just said that. He seems like he thinks he's the protagonist of his own story.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is absolutely convinced that he is the person who's in the right. He's the hero of his own story, and he doesn't see his own flaws because he's looking at himself that way. And then
he can't see the flaws in his girlfriend either, and that's what gets him killed.
Yeah.
I mean, he is like an unhinged version of, you take somebody like Archie from the Riverdale show. It's basically like he and this basketball crew think they're the main cast of Riverdale and all this stuff happening. It's like, yeah, we're gonna figure this all out, and we're in the right here, 100%, and they are not.
Yeah.
Shockingly so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that part was kind of funny. And speaking of, what is it? Oh, interesting antagonists. Let's talk about Vecna or Henry or one or all of them. Yeah, I'm a big fan of it was this guy all along, especially in long-running shows where of course, if it goes on too long, it's like, yes, 12 seasons of build-up, and it was I, Mr. McGucket or something. And it's like, okay, no, that's stupid. But, this was one of those twists done very plausibly. And, plausibly for a fictional show about a psychic demon man who pulls is a knockoff Freddy Krueger in the best way possible. But I liked what they pulled with this whole thing here. In fact, I think I could be we could go through and talk about each one of our ones, but I think out of all the little pie slices out of the 5, I think the psychic experiment, the Hawkins laboratory backstory thing, and the Russia thing were tied for my top 2 kind of things for this this year. And the I suppose you could say the murder mystery and the Hawkins thing are top two, and then Russia, because I mean those are very much linked together with the whole was it the Creole family thing. Also, guys, did you see Robert Englund? Did you see him? He was in there.
Oh, was that the guy in the prison cell with his eyes?
Yeah, that was him.
Okay.
He's so cool.
I'm
happy for you, Joseph.
Yes.
Yeah. It was again because he's Freddy Krueger, and then the villains, it's his son is the real Freddy Krueger, and it's all right. That's enough for me.
No, yeah, that's good. That's a callback that I didn't miss. That I missed because I don't have.
Oh yeah, this is a very Nightmare on Elm Street heavy. Just we talk about there's a collection of films from the era that are probably the influence for this season. Very Nightmare on Elm Street. The murder house, the dream, essentially the nightmare villain that uses nightmares, the claw, like his weird freaky mutated claw hand.
Yeah. Because they wouldn't have designed it that way unless they were intentionally trying to do a Freddy Krueger comparison analog sort of thing. Yeah, I think having the problem, season 1 was previously the best because it was just the one Demogorgon, right? And so it's a comprehensible, if not understandable, enemy. Right? Obviously it's horrifying and it's an abomination from another world, and it's not, it has completely different way that it operates, but it's this one thing, and
it's got rules.
Yeah, it's got rules. And then, as we got into the Mind Flayer, it was, this giant, somewhat nebulous entity force thing that maybe wants something, or maybe it's just like hungry. Maybe it's just a giant animal and it's feeding, but it's an animal that is a hive mind of animals or something. But then now we're like, oh no. All of these things are puppets that are being controlled by Freddy Krueger, being controlled by the one who is the Henry.
Henry Krueger.
Henry Krueger. There we go. That's what we'll call him. We'll call him Henry Krueger. So I thought that worked. That works a lot better. Like having a personality person that is our antagonist actually makes it easier to characterize the battle, right? As opposed to this big floaty nebulous force that how are we going to defeat it? We're going to keep shutting it out.
That's power of friendship.
Yeah. Whereas this is like, okay, here's this guy, and this guy is a big deal. This guy is very scary, but it's also a guy, So I am enjoying the way this arc is resolving. Yeah,
and then even setting them up. I can't remember. Maybe even started in the first episode, but just the buildup of the mystery unraveling, and then at the very end of episode 7, that twist reveal when it's revealed both to 11 and those in Hawkins at the same time who this person is, I thought was set up very well.
Indeed.
Normally, I would kind of criticize that sort of thing. It's like, oh yeah, it's the schlocky. Oh, he reveals his evil plan thing, but no, then it actually kind of makes sense for the character of like him being almost a master manipulator and all. It's like, oh yeah, you only see this because I want you to, and it's like they figure that out real quick, which that's good. After last season where everyone was being a little, I don't know, rom-commy, it's good that everyone's kind of back to smart thinking. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't think that anyone. I'm trying to think of any examples other than Chadwick Mannington being completely stupid, right? But even he is like in character, right? He doesn't seem like the kind of person who thinks about things. He's more the kind of person who gets an idea in his head and then he just runs with it. He's like a dog chasing cars, right? He just keeps running after it and he doesn't know how to stop.
It's a very mean dog.
Yeah.
I mean, his dog girlfriend did get hit by a car, so he's not thinking straight. Where is this metaphor going?
This is getting weird.
Oh, almost as weird as the Argyle. You guys remember Argyle?
All right,
I liked Argyle. I mean, he wasn't.
I
I think that entire adventure, because that whole plot line, because 11's plot line with that group splits off once she's taken to lab. So then for the second half of the whole season, it's them trying to find her. I personally thought that whole plot thread was a bit boring. Argyle was entertaining enough, but just in general, it seemed like they didn't really know what to do with them, and so they have that little adventure where they go to see Susie, and then they do other stuff here and there, just driving around. It seemed like they were kind of struggling for stuff to do with those three.
Like filler.
Yeah, they were very much in a holding pattern where they wanted there to be tension between Jonathan and Nancy, right? So they're separated. And they also want there to have been tension where, Will has been separated from the group again, but now he's with Mike and like working through their separation problems. And so it's all emotional, right? It's all like character sections there. It's not any of the problems of monsters going on. It's all just, them talking out their issues or not talking out their issues for a lot of it.
Yeah.
Right.
That is kind of funny because the catalyst for this one is them like just being under house arrest by Owens's guys, or being protected by Owens's men, and then Owens's men just get murked by a whole private militia.
Yeah,
just like coming in. That makes you think, okay, this is just taking off. It's like we're going full like spy thriller now or something, which is like, okay, here's this element, and then it's just like, no, more like a road trip. And it's like, okay, that's good, but maybe a little more urgency. I don't care about a dude who got shoved into a locker. I want to see them trying to find him, and some narrow misses with some dudes in a black van or something. I don't know. Yeah. You're right. It felt like filler when it could have used, could have used a little more, because these are kind of our two big, what is it? 2 of the 4 original dudes.
Yeah.
These are two protagonists. We need something to, something to spice up their stuff.
Well, we do see. I will say. Well, I can go into a criticism here because we're talking about this. I think that both Will and Mike suffer from not being part of groups. And the only group is the 2 of them talking to each other, and that group is the weakest of the groups. Like Dustin and Steve have their mentoree relationship going on, right? Like the teacher and the Padawan thing going on, and also Dustin and Lucas are dealing with the fact that Lucas is wanted to be one of the cool kids, so he actually has his own stuff going on, right?
Yeah, Lucas had a lot of growth this season.
Lucas had a lot.
Yeah. Lucas is becoming my favorite out of the party, honestly. I really like some of the stuff he had this season.
That's because him dealing with I want to be part of the cool kids. How much am I willing to sacrifice myself to be part of this group? No, I'm not willing to go that far. I need to go back and defend my friends. Like that was very compelling. Dustin probably wouldn't have done so well if it was just Dustin, but Dustin has Steve to play off of, so that worked great. But then Mike doesn't have Elle, and Mike and Elle play off of each other. And it's just Mike and Will has always, unfortunately, Will has always been the character who's
in trouble.
Yeah, he's always been the person who's in trouble and kind of a non-entity. He's interesting because he's in the Upside Down, or he's interesting because he's being possessed by the Mind Flayer, or I guess Vecna. It's Vecna all along. It was Vecna all along.
Oh no! Disney's gonna hit us with a copyright. Stop it right now.
All right, okay, that's enough of that. Yes, so I think that they suffer because of that.
It seemed like the writers who were writing this plot line were on a bit too much of that purple palm tree delight.
Just let the worries flow away. We'll think of some interesting stuff to say, right?
They're in a car. Everybody likes cars.
Everyone likes driving.
Now, Jack,
buddies.
Okay. And hold on. This is. I mean, I don't mean to jump on you, but this is where I'm going to correct you. They're technically in a van.
Oh, that's fair. You got me there.
You know what? all of our criticisms are rendered invalid by that observation. I mean,
yay!
The Scooby-Doo
Twitter
gang are in a
actually
van.
helped me for once in my life. Yuck, get it? Topical. Anyway, speaking of topical, let's see. Oh yeah, no, never mind. I completely forgot. That was a terrible transition. Why did you do that, Joe?
Because I'm a terrible person. That's why I did it.
No,
I don't know if we had talked about him much yet, but I just want to give props to Eddie Munson for replacing Bob as my new favorite character, who only lasted for a whole season.
Yeah. Eddie was. It was a different twist. It was a different take, right? Because Bob was a character who was very good person, right? Who didn't understand what was going on, but does the heroic thing because he was always the kind of person who would do that. Right. And then Eddie is a person who pretty quickly figures out what's going on and is a coward the entire time, and then finally makes the decision to be a hero, and of course is immediately punished for it because that's the kind of show this is. He should have known better than to be a hero as a side character in Stranger Things, because that's just not a good plan. But it's a different take on it, but it's very, very narratively satisfying, I think. Oh, and also the character is hilarious. So
I honestly expected Argyle to get like shot by like a Black Ops soldier or something, just because it's like, okay, one of these two is not going to make it, but only one of them is involved with upside down stuff, so we know who it's going to be.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Eddie Man.
Yeah.
I also appreciate. I feel like they incorporated even more D&D into this season than they have in previous ones, if that's even possible. It helps that Eddie is a major character for this season, obviously not overall, but I enjoy. Like, I actually know who Vecna is in D&D lore, and so that it hit differently for me than it would for you guys. Like the reveal of Vecna as the villain in the little D&D game was like, oh, that I actually understand what they're talking about. And so this is an interesting thing. I wonder if this is true for the Demogorgons, because I didn't know much about them before I watched the original. Like, Vecna fits the character Vecna in D&D lore actually fits very well with Henry 1 Vecna in Stranger Things, because he's a person who's like amassing power and transforms himself into some horrifying abomination. He's a person who's amassing power. He's a powerful wizard. He gets taken out by heroes, and everyone thinks he's dead, but he actually turns into an undead abomination, and becomes even stronger for it, and then becomes this horrifying monstrosity that's able to kill people with ease, and even more of a threat than he was before. So it actually works. It fits very well. Like, Vecna, the D&D character, actually fits very well with Vecna, the Stranger Things character. So that's my D&D commentary for you guys.
Nerd.
We're talking about Stranger Things. Who are you calling a nerd?
All of us.
Okay, good.
Not the smoothest transition, but somebody who I thought was a great character this season, who has been okay, hasn't been my favorite character at this point, but really stepped up, in my opinion, was Max this season.
Yes.
Really, I think they did a very good job of getting us to like her and empathize with her in a way we hadn't seen in the previous 2 seasons that she's been in, especially with that Dear Billy episode. Really a standout this season.
Yeah. I don't know that I have anything to add to it. She felt like she was a side character, and then she very much became a main character.
Yeah.
And then she maybe died. Which is
I got something about that. I think, what is it talked about? Oh yeah, she was clinically dead for like a minute. It's like, oh yeah, she died. 11 did some, again, power of friendship. I restart your heart, but her mind is probably it's like, again, going back to Freddy Krueger in the later ones. Whenever he killed like a teenager or something, he like kept their soul he ate their soul, but it was still a part of him. And then there was like the whole thing where, oh man, the one survivor beats Freddy and all the souls get loose. So I got a feeling that she's still there. And then when they beat Vecna, or Vecna's gonna use that to bait them out. It's like, oh, I got your friend's mind juice or something. So like, yeah. But then when she gets back, she's gonna be put back into a body with what it's essentially a paraplegic. So I don't know if we're gonna have a happy ending there.
Yeah, we don't. Yeah, that's a good question. We'll see. We'll see how nice they want to be.
Yeah, because they really could go either way. I feel like, considering the fact that they still kept her, I guess
in
the
limbo.
best way to put it is mostly dead. She's not all dead. She is currently in a mostly dead state.
Yeah.
No,
so
you're right, actually. Yeah.
I mean, considering they have kept her there instead of just automatically killing her off like they could have, my assumption is they're going to bring her back in some form. I just don't know what that's going to be. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. I would think, since they decided to keep her alive at all, they're going to give her at least, I would assume she mostly recovers. I can't imagine they would bring her back just to barely be alive. That doesn't seem particularly kind of the writers to do, but, we'll see.
I mean,
I think this is the closest we're going to get to a main character death. I don't think I think this is the closest we're going to get to them being mean, the writers being mean or something. It's like,
in the final season,
they've killed our one-offs, but who knows?
Yeah,
I feel like in the final season we might get some main character deaths. I would be surprised if we didn't.
Yeah, I would.
But
I agree there.
So
they're different. It's definitely their intention for this to be the last one. Who knows? Like I'm willing to take the Duffer Brothers' word for it, but the dollar is all also. So who knows? It's like, okay, yeah, we're gonna kill off a few of them, but we gotta keep enough alive for Stranger Things, Y2K. I don't know, something like that. It was just. That's the most logical thing that they're going to probably, I don't know, they're going to get half of them maybe, but then there's a little part of me, it's like, no. The little cynical voice, it's like, no, it's too marketable. We can't kill them off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I could see them saying, for example, there's the romantic triangle that's reemerged of Jonathan, Nancy, Steve, right? Like we thought that was gone, but then it turns out that Steve still cares about Nancy, and Nancy probably still cares about Steve, but she's still formally dating Jonathan. So I feel like the way they resolve that is one of them is going to die in season 5. Either Jonathan or Steve is going to die, or they'll be really mean and Nancy dies, and then Jonathan and Steve will be like, well. Want to commiserate about a mutual girlfriend for a while and then never talk to each other ever again. Like,
we can't have Steve die. The Harrington family road trip needs to happen.
Steve is so much still my favorite character.
Yeah.
Like, oh man.
Yeah, I think she's gonna break up with Jonathan season 5, especially because at the end we still have he's lying to her about school. Even after all that, he's still hiding stuff. It's like, yeah, they're done.
I can still see. I can see. This feels cliche. I don't know how many stories have actually done something like this, but this feels cliche that like she will find out that Jonathan lied and get upset. I could see them doing a Harry Potter ending where Jonathan dies in a heroic sacrifice, and then Nancy and Steve get married, and they name their first son Jonathan to honor him. Like I could see that. I could see that being the ending, where we have Stranger Things Y2K, right? 20 years, 15 years on. Right?
Jonathan Severus Harrington, perfect.
No, it'd be Jonathan Eddie Harrington, right? Because we have to get another.
There we go, perfect.
And our
Jonathan
first daughter
Bob
will be named Barbara.
Oh, great.
Barbara Bob.
I'm not.
Jack?
I'm not. I don't hate that.
Jack, what is your? Tell me your Wattpad username right now. You've put too much thought into this. I know it's there somewhere. You can't hide from me.
I mean, I could. I
really hope that doesn't happen.
I could see them doing that, and then they actually make Stranger Things 2000. It wouldn't be called Stranger Things 2000, but they would make a sequel series that takes place 15, 20 years in the future, a more modern day time period. Because they conclude season 5 and they're like, we're done, but we'll tell a story that's in the future where these characters are now adults and we could talk about their kids or some nonsense.
Yeah.
Time to ruin everybody's relationships for the sake of cheap drama.
Yeah. Okay. I really hope they don't do that.
Yeah, no. Well, speaking of season 5, darn. What is it? I remember from last episode I said, oh man, I really hope they end it here, but it's like, no, they did a good enough job with season 4, especially with the ending, that it's like, all right, give me more now. More, please, sir. May I have some more?
Yeah,
because it's like this was probably the best. All of them end on a cliffhanger, of course, but this is probably the best cliffhanger because of just the imminent dread.
Right.
Yeah, but that's because all of the previous seasons were concluded with a tag, right? Like, we end season 1, but then you find out there's still nonsense going on in the Upside Down.
Right.
We in season 2 when we close the gate, but there's still nonsense going on in the Upside Down. We in season 3 and there's Hopper is still alive.
Yes.
So there's still a tag each time, right? But this one was like, oh no. 4 and 5 are supposed to be a duology of seasons back to back.
You thought this one was a mini series. The first 3 episodes of season 5 are 2 hours long. No, Duffer Brothers, no, please.
Would not surprise me.
We shall see. It'll be interesting to see how they wrap it up. I've heard it's not going to be as mega, as huge as this season was, but we'll see how much money they can make and how much story they have to wrap up.
So. Honestly, I can just imagine they've already made back this season's budget on the D&D tie-ins because because it got more attention that people are going to be buying the starter kits and stuff and the t-shirts and the which there's nothing wrong with that, but who knows. Let's see. There was one other thing that I wanted to talk about. Stuff about Vecna being Freddy Krueger. Yeah, that's pretty good. Oh yeah, what is it? Just bringing up Argyle. It's like it's hilarious how last season was The Thing, and like was it and like a rom-com as the big influences. Well, this one was Nightmare on Elm Street and a Cheech and Chong film. So that's funny to me.
Yeah.
Maybe a little less that, but again, this one is the one where I can comfortably say this isn't just 2 films. This is like the show, a big pie cut into several different pieces. All with its own little influences and stuff.
There's the road trip. There's the Nightmare on Elm Street and Hawkins. There's a Nightmare in Hawkins. Nightmare. There's the Nightmare.
I'm from Russia. I have Nightmare in Hawkins.
Yeah, then there's the Americans in Russia trying to escape, which I'm assuming is a plot in some movie, in probably several movies.
Yeah, a lot of Cold War action films, I'd say. It's just as a whole, the stereotypical Cold War action film.
Yeah.
God, there's still just so much to talk about, but we're getting close to the end, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we should probably wrap up here pretty soon.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've gone on about the good and we've gone on about the There's one thing that I don't know if I've brought up with. It was like just one thing in movies and shows where it's like it takes everything down at least 1.5 points for me. It's when they use too many flashbacks. Now when I say flashbacks, I don't mean the sequences with 11. No, I'm talking about like when we first see. Well, okay, no, this is a bad example. Like I'm gonna give you a good example of like a flashback that's like a quick little flashback. It's like when we first see Dr. Brenner's back, we see him, doing that. What is it? Torturing 11 and stuff, and then him almost getting mauled by the Demogorgon or something. It's like, okay, that's good. However, like in episode 5 or something, then when he's talking about, it's like, I only ever did what I did for your own good, and then it shows like the exact same stuff of him like torturing her. It's like, yeah, no, we know. We get it.
Yeah.
We know that part. I understand. It's like, these are long episodes, but we don't have that short of an attention span. And it's just like, a lot of the Vecna stuff too. I guess because it was kind of complicated, but there was just a bunch of flashbacks to like when he's shaping the Mind Flayer, and it's like it cuts 3 different times to him interacting with spiders, and it's like, no, we get it. We get it. You don't need to remind us. He liked spiders. He did that. And it's like, that's a cool moment, but it's just like, all right, that's enough of that. And if anything,
it didn't click with me till that 3rd time. First 2 times, I'm like, why is he messing with spiders? Oh, he likes spiders. So I needed each one of those times. I wouldn't have known if I hadn't gotten all those flashbacks. So.
Jack, you make me sad.
No,
it's fine. It's fine. Just go cater to the TikTok generation. I'm kidding. I'm being an old man. It's funny. Laugh.
Uh,
But really, if that's the worst thing to happen this season, I can definitely say I had a good time.
Yeah. I think that's probably the summary of the review, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was very long, and there's probably some bloat in there, but I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to season 5.
Yes,
indeed.
It's funny because we've obviously rewatched all these seasons in prep for season 4. I don't know if I can actually rewatch this. I mean, we'll see how long I've got to wait for season 5. I may just end up watching it, but just because of how massive it is, I don't know if I can actually see myself rewatching this season.
Yeah.
If I have to rewatch anything, I'm gonna rewatch the mini, like what is it, 8 and 9? I'm gonna rewatch 8 and 9, and then maybe the 1st and 2nd seasons, or maybe even just the 2nd. I don't know, because it's like this is like going through sources for a thesis at this point. I think my memory will be good enough.
We could have Stranger Things scholars dissecting these movies.
That's right.
You see, the shack in the 2nd episode that the basketball team happens at, or has a party at, is actually the Benny's restaurant from season 1, episode 1.
Is it?
I thought it is. No, they actually. What is it? Yeah,
they mentioned that,
actually say it. It's like, yeah, Benny
Oh.
wasn't liking to you guys hanging out here. It's like, oh, whatever, man. This thing fell in on itself like 2 years ago, and it's like, okay, I figured they were just gonna keep it as it is with like just not the visual gag, I guess the visual callback, and yeah. But yeah, I like that. It was a little thing.
Cool. I missed that. So.
Well, that's because you're not a Stranger Things, what is it, scholar like I am. Degree pending.
You're darn right I'm not. I got better things to do with my time.
I'm getting an actual degree. Well, it's okay. So yeah, who wants to start us off with a number rating for the whole season? We're not going to break it up into part 1 or part 2 because I mean it's still the season.
Yeah.
I think they would split it up so that you could sleep in between part 1 and part 2 to force people to sleep. I mean, I thought, I cannot remember for the life of me what I gave previous seasons, but I think, other than it being so long, I might have enjoyed this one more than I've enjoyed any of the seasons since 1. So whatever I gave 1, I think I gave season 1 an 8, maybe.
It's been so long, and
it's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while. Sorry.
It has.
I think I gave 1 an 8. I'm gonna give season 4 an 8 as well. I think that's about where I'm at. 8, maybe even 8.5.
Yeah. I think I end up giving seasons. I think I gave seasons 1 and 2 10. Maybe I gave season 1 a 10, season 2 a 9, and season 3 an 8, something like that. I'm gonna give season 4 a 9. Pretty solid 9. I mean, you had that one plot line with Will and Mike that just is. It's a bad example, but it almost reminds me of when you're watching Lord of the Rings and it keeps cutting back to Frodo and Sam's plot line when you much rather see what's happening with Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli. So it was not nearly that bad.
If they were in a van, it would be that bad.
I mean, I thought Lord of the Rings and all that, I enjoyed that stuff more than I did Stranger Things, but I mean, that's why it's a bad example. But yeah, so
we understand what you mean.
Yeah,
oranges and bananas.
Yeah, so aside from that plot line, I overall had a blast with it. Good mystery, good characters, a lot of growth there, a lot of growth from characters who hadn't gotten a lot before, and enjoyed the new characters and all of that. So yeah, solid 9 for me.
Mm-hmm. Very nice, very nice. I would say this is on par with the first season to me. I'm pretty sure I've gone 9, 8, 7 in order. So we're going back up to a 9. Very cool. It also reminded me of another little nitpick I had. We haven't been talking about special effects because of course they've been on par. I think most of Vecna, when he's just walking around, is a practical suit. So very cool. Props to them. I don't know if they switched VFX companies between, or if they have the same visual effects supervisors that have been going on through the whole project. But yeah, very cool. Except for little de-aged CGI 11. That was uncanny. And I don't know if that was the point though. That could have been. And because of that, I'm going to change my 9 to a 5. No. 9 out of 10.
Savage.
It's horrifying, disturbing, and for all the wrong reasons. Right reasons. Yeah, there we go. It's 9 out of 10. Very cool. Hit me with season 5 right now.
Boom.
All right. Well, I think that's all for us here. Careful when exploring the Upside Down as it leaks into our world. And, well, I, for one, welcome our horrifying psychic overlord. And, well, this has been the Background Noise crew. If you've been listening, good job. But if you haven't, well, you haven't missed too much. Bye-bye.